access to. So I'm really interested to see when he does his first deck search, what his reaction is to seeing the 3 Mirage Gates he won't have access to.
All right, here we go. We have the handshake here, and we are about to get into our Swiss round 15. The last chance these players have to clean up and get these points and get into top 8. Nicholas Moffitt versus Gibby, and we're starting over on Gibby's side here with a battle VIP pass. So being able to search out 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto the bench. Gibby, of course, already lining up that Vika Volt and that Mew.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Lost Box decks do not like being item locked, which is what Vika Volt is aiming to do. Paralyzing Bolt, dealing 50 damage, and then during your opponent's next turn, they cannot play any item cards from their hand. So that's what Gibby's going to try to pull off on turn 2, get that item lock up and rolling. And the question is going to be, how can Nick Moffitt respond?
Yep, and here we go. We see it playing out here. Speed Energy being attached to that Vika Volt there to draw into 2 cards. We're seeing the scoop up net from that Radiant Greninja that was in an active position straight into that Mew to be able to look at these cards and take 1 out as well from the top.
Right
Going
away.
real quick here.
Yeah, right away going to slam that energy search, fetching this basic water energy. This is an important piece for the deck. Get your water energies down into the discard pile so that you can utilize Melanie. It's a little confusing because this is not a water-based deck, but playing these basic water energy, you know, you can concealed cards once again with this Greninja, and now you'll have access to this Melanie to get you a little extra energy acceleration moving forward.
Yeah, huge piece for sure. You do need that energy acceleration as soon as possible to be able to actually hit with that. So now we're over on Nicholas Moffitt's side here, starting with that Rayquaza in the active position. We've been talking all weekend about this huge inclusion into the Lost Box decks, and that is going to be in the active position already for Nicholas Moffitt, going in as well with his own Battle VIP pass, so able to take out 2 Pokemon of his own and hopefully get rolling here before any item lock even happens.
Yeah, he's using an interesting prize checking strategy. I think Isaiah Bradner is one of the players who I notice using this often, moving all of the Pokemon to the front of the deck on all of your energy to the back of the deck during your first deck search, just so you can pretty quickly identify which of these Pokemon you have access to, which ones you don't. Check those prize cards as fast as possible, and then make sure you give the deck a good shuffle after this search. And I think Nick is already holding on to a second Battle VIP pass in his hand.
Wow. Well, that's definitely what you want to see. I'm sure what Nick does not want to see, though, is all of those Mirage Gates in the prize cards.
Yep. Notes getting written down. Mirage Gate, Mirage Gate, Mirage Gate.
How do you even navigate around that, Chip? You just need to get into your prize cards as soon as possible and get them out?
A lot of times with the Lost Box deck, you don't mind missing an energy attachment for turn, or sometimes you don't even want to put an energy down into play because you want to utilize the Mirage Gate. In this instance for Nick, I think that's going to be the key. Try to get energy attachments early as possible, and I like this strategy as well from Nick, utilizing a pretty important card for this matchup, I feel like, that Galarian Zapdos V. With its Fighting Instinct ability, its attack costs 1 colorless less for each Pokemon V your opponent has in play. So if Nick is able to attach an energy for turn right now to the Galarian Zapdos, next turn, if Gibby benches another Pokemon V, that means Nick just needs 1 more energy in order to launch a Thunderous Kick, which would be able to deal in 1-hit KO that Vika Volt V, which is weak to fighting.
Yep, and that is definitely a crucial card. One, I don't think I've seen any other Lost Box decks playing this card.
It's been a while since I've seen this card in the meta.
Yeah, what do you think it was primarily teched in there for? Just because of the fighting weakness in so many matchups?
I mean, it's just a nice utility, a nice option of an attacker. It could potentially be for something like Galarian Weezing Eternatus. I guess that was a reasonable percentage of the meta. It can attack for very low energies into matchups like, you know, Arceus Duraludon. It can 1-hit KO Arceus for just 2 energies. So maybe something like that. Nicholas felt like it was a worthy inclusion.
All right, well, it's definitely paying off here so far. So let's start getting some cards into the Lost Zone here for Nicholas Moffitt. We're starting off with the flower selecting. What is it?
And it's a Colress and his 1 single Mirage Gate. Those are his, that might be the worst 2 cards he could have possibly seen off of this flower selecting. Does he play this whole game without Mirage Gate until he starts taking prizes?
0 Mirage Gates in the deck as an option right now for Nicholas Moffitt. Of course, before you can even use the Mirage Mirage Gate, you do have to get to 7 cards in the last zone, but we're already at 3 here, so we're stacking them up, but not having that option is going to be brutal here for Nicholas. So gonna go with that Colress, though. Such an important card in this deck to be able to just draw more cards and get into those options that you need. The pivoting, the discarding to get into the last zone. It's super important to be going through your deck.
Does need one more card in the lost zone if he wants to maybe try to attack with a Cramorant this turn, just get a little bit of damage in play. It is a little unfortunate, though, because now, since this escape rope has been played, Gibby wisely sends up the Radiant Greninja, which can withstand a hit from an incoming potential Cramorant.
Yep, just beefy enough, but now we have 4 cards here in the lost zone. Yeah, even as you said, Chip, I mean, there was the ability to, because that quick ball, which I think we're about to see played by Nicholas Moffitt here. Quick balling looks like a quick ball to go into the deck and draw out a basic Pokemon. So we'll see what Nick is going for. It might be that Oranguru eyeing up. I mean, Oranguru, Cram. What else do you think is the option here? Ooh, Raikou V. That's a card.
Yeah, that is definitely a card. I mean, and it's something that can hit for a lot of damage. Nick is probably aware of what Gibby is playing. These Vikavolt and Raikous that he's playing over on that side of the table don't have the most hit points compared to Pokemon V-Star and V-Max, so it's pretty reasonable that Lightning Rondo could build up to a knockout, and it's a Pokemon that can attack for just 2 energy. So in combination with Raihan, which Nick is, of course, playing 3 copies of in this deck, it's a pretty good way to respond to an attack from Gibby.
Always nice having that fleet-footed ability as well for just extra draw support. So definitely a nice card to have there, and that was going to be drawn. But we're just going to see the pass back over to Gibby here to continue to build up his board state over on this side. Looks like we're going to go with a Trekking Shoes, drawing, and I think it was the Zapdos, and then just keeping the Zapdos. Here we go, the Melanie popping off, putting that water energy onto the Vikavolt on the bench, and then drawing into those cards as well. So in order for us to see this this attack from the Vikavolt, we're going to have to see the pivot out, but the energy's already attached onto that great Radiant Greninja. So we're going to see some item lock in here.
Absolutely, and this Zapdos is actually a huge card for Gibby to get onto the bench. This will boost the damage output of Vikavolt, so the Paralyzing Bolt is now dealing 60 damage, which is not enough to KO Comfey. Lightning Symbol does boost that damage by 10, so now Comfey will be at 60 damage on it. Nick does not have the option to heal it. There is no ability to play Scoop Up Net, no ability to play Switch Cart. And so then now that means on Gibby's next turn, he can bench Galarian Zigzagoon, take a knockout, get that prize card, and then start to lock another Comfey potentially.
Yeah, the loop is being established here by Gibby, and here we go. The lock is in effect, so we're not going to be seeing those item cards come down. Of course, we can still see supporters come down, which is that Colress experiment right there. So looking at those 5 cards, 3 are going to go to hand and 2 to the lost zone.
I mean, makes sense if you're getting item locked. Let's get rid of those 2 item cards that you're likely going to be unable to play. Now, while Gibby's deck does focus mainly on Vikavolt, there are other attackers that he may try to utilize at other points. We do see an energy already on Radiant Greninja. That is potentially something that could become a threat. Of course, there's the Raikou as well. So Nicholas needs to be a little mindful, not just throw away the items because he won't have access to them at all, because there's a chance he'll get them at some point.
Yep, but here we go. That was a Hisuian Heavy Ball, the Scoop Up Net, and the boss's orders now into the lost zone here. Energy being attached onto that Galarian Zapdos V with the Air Balloon attached, so has the pivoting option as well, and just a pass back here to Gibby, who is remaining with the item lock here, and I'm curious to see if we are going to see that play for the knock and a lock.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a game of chicken, it feels like.
Yeah, true.
Gibson, if he takes the knockout on this active, all of a sudden Nicholas can promote this Zapdos and take a one-hit KO on to the Vikavolt pretty easily. So what does Gibby try to do to play around that? Something he could potentially try to do is get an energy, another lightning energy onto this Vikavolt and go for this super Zap Cannon and in combination with the boss's orders and take out the Zapdos. It looks like things are going to get started here, though, with that Zigzagoon Headbutt Tantrum, and that will take a prize card.
Yep, and that is always nice to have. Of course, once you take that prize card, your opponent does have to promote another Pokemon, so we're going to see that happen shortly as well. But it is then still Gibby's turn. Ooh, the promotion of the Rayquaza there on Nicholas's side.
Yeah, this is something that can get stuck up here for a couple of turns, and it makes sense. Nick does not want to just send up the Zapdos. It would likely get one-hit KO'd by a super Zap Cannon. Gibson is going to play the Scoop Net, re-utilize that Zigzagoon, at least put it in hand so that it can be used later on. And this Rayquaza will be 2-hit KO'd. Actually, it'll be 1-hit KO'd. It is weak to Lightning. Can't forget that.
Yes.
Not something that you really think about with these low HP Lost Box Pokemon, but it is going to be a factor. Thanks to the Lightning symbol, it will be a 1-hit KO. Gibby taking 2 prizes in 1 turn.
You're also kind of used to Dragon Pokemon not having a weakness, but that is a colorless Rayquaza there. So here we go. Gibby taking those 2 prize cards back over to Nicholas Moffitt here. Of course, promoting up that Galarian Zapdos V. Not a card we see too often, but is super relevant in this matchup, and I'm sure Nicholas is very happy to have it here right now. So kicking off the turn.
Yeah, right away grabs the Galarian Zigzagoon, wants to do some math fixing, potentially to be able to reach for a knockout on something like the Raikou V on the next turn. Both of these players having a Raikou on their bench, both of them having an energy prepped on it as well. Also Gibson with that Forest Seal Stone, ready to utilize that Star Alchemy V-Star power to search out any combo piece he may need.
And Nicholas Moffitt still having to manually attach here, attaching onto the Raikou V, and then going in with that fleet-footed, benching that Galarian Zigzagoon to do that headbutt tantrum, 10 damage. But now the Raikou V is in the active position. Yep,
needs 1 more benched Pokemon, and he'll be able to pick up the KO, dealing 200 damage. Thanks to the 10 from the Galarian Zigzagoon, that will be a KO.
Perfect.
On this active. Sure enough, goodbye Vikavolt.
Let's hold the Mirage Gates. I think that was at least 1, right?
Yes, did grab 1 Mirage Gate out. And this is smart from Nicholas because it preserves your better attacker in the Galarian Zapdos. Use the Raikou now, and then Zapdos can come in and 1-hit KO a Vikavolt later on, potentially.
That's true. If you have the ability to do it, if all those benched Pokemon are out, you might as well do it. So here we go, back over to Gibby's side. Playing that Luminion V, using the Luminous Sign ability to grab a Melanie out of the deck. Of course, searching out a supporter here. And it's also now the Luminion V onto the bench. Wow, that's a pretty big hand here for Gibby already, and the Melanie is going to be played to add even more cards to the hand.
Yep, prepping for that Raikou V to be able to attack. Its Lightning Rondo attack, of course, dealing 20 base damage, and then 20 more for each Pokemon in each player's bench. And we do see an interesting card come down, that Ditto V from the Shining Fates expansion. With its V transformation ability, it allows you to just swap it with a Pokemon V in your discard pile. So all the effects remain on it, right? It's been in play for the same number of turns. So what this will allow Gibby to do is next turn swap into either Vikavolt or Raikou potentially if Nicholas does take a knockout on this Vikavolt. And we're setting up for a very fast-paced game here where it's going to be, these players have gotten set up, now they're just trying to attack, attack, attack.
Yeah, that Ditto is such a cool card, and it's a little scary too. Eyeing down, you don't know what it's going to transform into, and then it just pops on the board. So that's definitely cool to see. But yeah, these players are going real quick, so comfortable with both of their decks that they're playing. Of course, checking the discard here on Nicholas Moffitt's side. You want to make sure you're keeping track of what your opponent is doing, what resources they have used, because that all plays into your strategy. So yeah, Gibby already, he's down to 2 prize cards here.
Down to 2 prize cards. Yeah, I mean, Lost Box is normally a deck that likes to draw the game out. And honestly, Vikavolt, a deck that similarly likes to play longer games often enough. But it just seems like in this matchup, it's going to become a contest of players being able to just KO, 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 who's able to be the aggressor and who's able to stay ahead. And right now, that looks like it's Gibby in the driver's seat.
I know, it's totally different variations than we see both of these decks usually being played out. It looks like 2 different decks completely than what we usually see.
Very interesting deck choices as well for the weekend, just in general, because these guys are both kind of playing anti-meta strategies. Obviously, Gibson's deck is very similar to what Alex Kreckler played, maybe almost identical to what Alex Kreckler played to second place in Arlington. Nicholas Moffitt with a little bit of a twist on the Lost Box strategy.
All right, so we're over on Nicholas's side now. We already utilized that concealed cards off the Radiant Greninja. Now we are seeing the attachment there as well.
Yep. Getting
from the Raihan. Yeah, so the Raihan's going to take that energy out of the discard, place it onto one of your Pokemon, but then you get to search your deck for any card that you want. So Nicholas Moffitt going into the deck, grabbing that card. You do not have to reveal it because it can be any card. So we'll see what he chose to bring out of the deck here for this upcoming turn.
Raihan, normally a card that's very strong alongside the amazing rare Rayquaza, but it feels like that's not a Pokemon that Nicholas really wants to attack with in this matchup, at least not in this spot.
Yeah, and it's gone too. It's in the discard pile already.
And the other one's in the lost zone, yep.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oof. All right, here we go. So we're going to see that Oranguru come down the Primate Wisdom to switch a card from hand to the top of your deck, and then you draw the card that was on top of your deck. We're going to see a scoop up net to scoop that Oranguru back up. If it's played back, the ability can be used again. Oh, another scoop up net to grab that Zigzagoon. What's happening here, Chip? What's playing out?
Yeah, what Nicholas is trying to do is he's trying to keep as few Pokemon in play so that the damage output of Gibby's Lightning Rondo is limited. Of course, it does require you to do more damage based on how many Pokemon are in play. Now, by Nicholas going down to just 2 Pokemon, the most damage Gibby can possibly hit for is 160. If there's a choice belt, 190. That is not enough to take the knockout.
Just
of course,
short.
we do know that Gibby has the Galarian Zigzagoon, though.
That is very true, and I believe it is already in hand. Of course, the bench is full right now, unless we see a knockout here from Nicholas Moffitt. But here we go. We're still playing through this turn. Of course, the Raihan attached that water energy to the Radiant Greninja. Emmanuel attached that Comfey. Knock here.
So let's see if Gibby can do it. He does have the Galarian, the Vikavolt draws 2 cards. If there's a Melanie in hand, he can use the Super Zap Cannon in order to do 200 damage thanks to the Zapdos that is on the bench. All he needs now is a way to get this Mew out of the active spot. A Switcher Scoop Up Net, Air Balloon would also do it. And now Vikavolt V's Super Zap Cannon, discarding 2 energies, taking 2 prize cards, and winning the game for Gibby.
Wow, Gibson is going to take that game 1. Congratulations there. That was a really quick game that we just watched, players. There is that Zapdos that is in the prize cards on Gibson's side.
That's an important card. Gibson does have the Hisuian Heavy Ball, so could try to fetch it out if he's able to find that piece. And we're getting underway immediately with the Manaphy start on Nicholas's side.
All right, it's 0-1 now, so Nicholas needs to take this win to take it into a 3rd game here. Starting off with a battle VIP pass is always a great way to start. But yeah, Nicholas needs to just go super aggro and make sure that he can set up as best as possible before anything starts happening over on Gibson's side. I didn't get to see the starting hand from Gibson here, but I don't know. He's looking like he's thinking pretty hard here.
A strategy I would maybe like to see Nicholas try for would be to utilize Ice Cube a little bit more. We didn't see that at all in this last game. Of course, the Wash energy was prized in game 1, and I did notice it in the prizes once again here in game number 2, but Nicholas does play plenty of basic water energy in order to supply that block face attack. Maybe force Gibson to go into the Aerodactyl V-Star and then try to capitalize, knock it out, and if you can do that and stick a lone Ice Cube active, I don't think there's much of an option for Gibby besides that 1-1 Aerodactyl line.
So we might see some counterplay in that sense from Nicholas Moffitt. Should be pretty interesting, but starting out with the Battle VIP Pass, the Radiant Greninja, of course, and the Comfey to hopefully get Nicholas grinded through this deck and getting the cards needed. I'm not sure what else is in hand either, but going through, making sure mapping all the prize cards out as well, because that is going to be crucial for whatever strategy Nicholas does choose to do. You have to make sure you have all those resources available to carry it out.
Yeah, knowing your prize cards is very important for any Pokemon deck at the highest competitive level, but it almost feels the most important for these Lost Zone Rayquaza decks.
True, yeah.
You have so many different types of energy, so many moving pieces, so many ways that you need to interact with the Lost Zone, the discard pile with Raihan, Mirage Gates, Colress, Comfeys, so many switching cards, and knowing what you have access to and what you don't is absolutely vital to your potential success.
Yeah, especially when you prize 4 energy cards, you know?
Yes,
so pretty rough. So yeah, that is definitely huge here. So Nicholas making sure to take all of the time in this matchup, but we'll see what else gets to be played out here. Of course, we do need to see a pivot card here to get that Manaphy out of the active so we can start seeing some cards going. And here we go, concealed cards. Let's see what it brings us. Quick Ball and Raihan.
Does
that
have
is not
scoop up nets in hand.
Oh, there we go,
so
scoop ups.
Can pick up the Manaphy and start using the flower selecting a little bit. Normally on turn 1 for the Lost Zone deck, you want to end with about 2 to 3 cards in the Lost Zone so that you feel like you can get to 7 on turn 2.
Yeah, it's also nice to be utilizing your scoop up nets to scoop up those Comfies as
not
well.
Manaphy
Yeah,
ideally,
not a
but
Manaphy.
sometimes it's what you have to do.
Oh yeah, and that is definitely what you have to do if you're Nicholas here. But we do see another Battle VIP pass go to the hand, putting that 1 water energy into the lost zone here from Nicholas. So at least we're going to see more Pokemon come out. This, again, is a huge part of the strategy for Nicholas. Get these attackers out, start manually attaching the energy to be able to get the early lead on the prize cards, as well as if you're getting item locked, you need to make sure you're using all of your items as soon as possible.
And with Gibson going second, that's what his goal is going to be. Try to go for the turn 1 item lock, ideally. Get a lightning energy, a speed lightning, or a basic onto the active, and then go in with a Melanie if you can find a way to discard a water energy and get the turn 1 paralyzing bolt. That's your main strat.
All right, so we're going to see that second scoop up net, scooping up at least that Comfey there. Another Comfey flower selecting. So we are going to see 2 cards go into the lost zone here. That Oranguru going into the lost zone. So goodbye, Oranguru. You're never coming back here. Comfey being placed back down onto the bench as well. Still has an escape rope. Is going to opt to use it to go in with another flower selecting Mirage Gate.
Debating between the Mirage Gate and the Rayquaza. It seems pretty tough to use Rayquaza in this matchup, especially if you're getting item locked, right? You're not going to have access to the Mirage Gates.
True.
So keeping the Mirage Gate for now. So if there is an opening, seems maybe a little bit better, but it's kind of a tough call regardless. Does have the energy and the Ice Cube in hand, so could bench the Ice Cube and attach an energy to it, as we do see it being brought to the front. I have to imagine Nicholas is at least thinking about it, but may value the attachment on Zapdos a little bit more so that you can threaten the Thunderous, that big kick attack there on turn number 2.
Absolutely, and you really have to be thinking, you're playing for the worst too. Oh, we did see the quick ball there to throw that Ice Cube. Yeah, it's gone now. So we're going back into the deck, grabbing that Lumineon here on Nicholas's side, but you're pretty much prepping to guess that Gibson is going to have everything needed in hand to be able to item lock you. So you want to be playing to all of your outs as soon as you possibly can. And that might not even be the case. Gibson might have a totally dead hand. We don't even know at this point. But Nicholas needs to make sure everything is lined up in this turn. It's so crucial.
Nicholas, by playing the quick ball here, is playing around the turn 1 item lock from Gibson, because now that Lumineon is in hand, so if you can't play item cards, you can at least bench Lumineon, use Luminous Sign, and go get yourself a supporter to make something happen.
Yeah, that is definitely an out that Nicholas is focusing on, which I think is a really good plan here. So here we go. We're shuffling up the deck on Gibson's side. Let's see if there's any more cards Nicholas might want to play during this turn. This has been a super long turn 1. It almost doesn't feel like a turn 1, but those 2 battle VIPs are still right there, already been used on Nicholas's side. So
yeah, I don't know. I think the debate is just, where does this energy go? Do we attach to Zapdos for turn? Do you maybe need to pivot out with the Comfey? Outside of that Lumineon, Nicholas's hand is really not that strong.
Yeah.
Maybe wanted to hold off on the energy so that he could utilize Radiant Greninja, but for now it will just be the energy onto the Zapdos, and we're going over to Gibby's turn.
Yep, and Gibson starting off with that Mew at least being placed down onto the bench. Here we go. Speed, lightning, energy.
Does find the energy search.
Wow, here we go. Energy search. That trekking shoes came in very clutch there. Also having the option for the Mew is nice as well, depending on what else is in hand here for Gibson, but already getting off to a great start.
Yep, needs a way to discard this energy and also needs to get Melanie. Looks like it's going to be a switch cart into Mew potentially, and a Mysterious Tail incoming.
All right, let's see what we can find off of here. Do we see it?
Does see an Ultra Ball. That can go get Radiant Greninja.
Very nice.
That can also just discard the water energy, and I think there is already a Lumineon in hand to fetch out the Melanie. Actually, there's already even a Melanie in hand.
I was about to say Lumineon's going
can
down
hit the discard
here.
pile, yep.
Yeah, very nice. All right, so that Ultra Ball getting the water energy, which is much needed in the discard pile to be able to utilize that Melanie, attaching the water energy onto a V Pokemon, and then drawing into 3 cards as well. Radiant Greninja coming down here for just extra consistency within this turn for Gibson. Everything is playing out very well here, and that's exactly what Nicholas Moffitt was preparing for.
I think the one thing Gibson would like to find here would be that Zapdos, which we know is in the prize cards. So if he wants to find it, it's going to have to be through that Hisuian Heavy Ball. Let's see if he can find that one piece It's not worth digging for, like, overextending or anything like that, but it would be really nice to grab.
Be convenient for sure. Ooh, we are going to see Gibson's own Battle VIP pass as well, so allowing Gibson to build up the bench even more here, grabbing another Mew out. Such a great card for consistency within this deck as well. I mean, we've seen it all day making huge turns for these players.
And I think right now Gibson is getting the news that Zapdos is prized, but Forest Sealstone can fetch the Hisuian Heavy Ball. He doesn't have to show Nicholas that that's the card he's grabbing off the Forest Sealstone.
Just flexing.
But hey, you're gonna play it right away. Let's slam it on the table. Let's go get that Zapdos out.
Yeah, you know exactly what's happening. Forest Sealstone, such a valuable card to be able to use a V-Star power ability, something that can only be used once per game in this deck. So just searching out any card from your deck, grabbing that Heavy Ball, and taking that Zapdos straight out of the prize cards. Of course, replacing it with that Hisuian Heavy Ball. So still 6 prize cards there for Gibson. But that was a huge play there, Chip.
Yeah, we're doing a little dance here with the prize cards, mixing them up a little bit. Now Gibson only needing a switching card to get this Mew out of the active spot. I do think I saw a Scoop of Net in hand, so if there's a couple switching cards, we could still see another Mysterious Tail being used. For now, it's going to be concealed cards, drawing 2 more.
All right, there's a lot of this turn that could still be had, but we're just going to see that Vikavolt come up into the active position, and we are starting that item lock here.
Yeah, and things slow down for Nick as he draws his card for turn. He knows that this is an awkward spot. He cannot realistically respond this turn. He does have Luminion to go fetch a Colress potentially. The annoying thing as well, though, for Nicholas is the fact that it's not easy for him to utilize his Raihans whenever his opponent is going to be taking a prize using Galarian Zigzagoon most likely next turn.
Yeah, because you do have to well, I
don't remember the exact wording of Raihan. It might be if your opponent took a knockout during their turn.
It is that, yeah. So
there's been so many of these, like if your opponent took a knockout, if they took a knockout with an attack.
I think as long as a Pokemon goes down, you can still utilize
right.
Raihan. So there is at least that, but that's just going to be a pass back to Gibson here. So now we're back over on Gibson's side. Looks like debating the training court stadium coming into play potentially.
Yeah, might not want to give that to Nicholas. So I think that's why we're seeing Gibson hold off on it.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll put it down though.
Here we go, and just throwing that energy back into the discard pile with the concealed cards off of that Radiant Greninja to draw into 2 more cards, stacking up the hand here. As we said, neither of these players really play any disruption, so both of them are going to be stacking up cards. The only thing is, Nicholas can't play any items, so that is a huge downfall here on that end. But we're going to see a boss.
Okay, bringing up that Radiant Greninja and dealing 120 damage to it. Gibson did not have access to that Galarian Zigzagoon, but this will put damage on 2 Pokemon, so there's a chance for like even a 3 prize turn for Gibson potentially.
Yep, and going after that Pokemon that's is definitely adding to the consistency as well for Nicholas. So losing that would also be huge there on Nicholas's side. So what can we possibly see? It's just going to be a pass here from Nicholas Moffitt back over to Gibson's side. That Vikavolt is pulling so much weight in this matchup. Ooh, are we going to see that secret rare escape rope?
Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of a discussion going on. It looked like Nicholas said pass and Gibson drew for turn, but...
Oh, yeah. I did see the hand motion, but I think maybe Nicholas was just...
Oh, I think maybe he was thinking?
Yeah, he, potentially. I see our players so many times, like, kind of using a hand motion of what they're going to be playing out throughout the match. Like, but that did definitely look like it was
very
extended.
Reasonable for Gibson to have interpreted Nicholas's motion as a pass, but I understand Nicholas was not necessarily intending that to happen. So we got a situation here where Gibson drew a card that he should not have if it is the case that Nicholas was not intending to pass.
Yep, I guess that's what we're going to have to resolve here between these players. But until we get to that point, Chip, what are you thinking about this board state? I mean, Gibson looks like just absolutely running away with this game so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a very good position. Nicholas just doesn't have much going on. It's pretty much just on, does Nicholas want to use the Luminion or not? He did choose to not use it on the last turn. So that makes me think he's holding off for a Raihan and wants to save the Luminion for later. Maybe doesn't want to put that Lightning Weak Pokemon in play. Could be a consideration.
Yep, there's tons of possibilities here.
Yeah, they're trying to figure this situation out. So it's really to no fault of either player. I don't think Nicholas is trying to get Gibson to draw an extra card. Actually, now it does look like it was just indeed a pass. So it looks like we're back on Gibby's turn. Okay.
All right, here we go. So Nicholas Moffitt just passing over to Gibson, utilizing that training court to just pop off again with that Radiant Greninja concealed cards, drawn to 2 more cards here. Stacking the hand so much, going in with a quick ball, discarding the water energy to grab. Here we go, that Galarian Zigzagoon coming down and taking that knockout on the Radiant Greninja in the active position there. So that is going to be a prize card for Gibson off of that. And it is still Gibson's turn here, promoting the already damaged Comfey into the active position. But we're going to see that escape rope come into play. Mew promoted on Gibson's side to be able to go back into the deck.
And I do think he has found a scoop up net here. This could be an option to scoop up net the Zigzagoon, put another damage counter on the Comfey, take 1 more prize. Looks like it will for now be an air balloon to retreat this Mew. Manaphy is weak to lightning, so that is something that will be KO'd by a paralyzing bolt.
Oof, poor Manaphy going down. Too young, I swear. But yeah, and that's just going to be another prize card too for Gibson. So this is looking absolutely rough so far here on Nicholas's side. As you said though, Chip, the hand was just not good from the get-go for Nicholas. Trying to play through all of the outs throughout that first turn, but once you're item locked, it gets so tricky, especially when most of your deck is made out of item cards.
Looks like Quick Ball will be played. Gibson may want to get another Pokemon to put down. This does make it easier for Zapdos to take a KO, but if Nicholas is holding on to something like a Raihan, he was going to be able to take a knockout on the Vikavolt either way with Zapdos if there's only 1 Pokemon V in play or 2. So you might as well get another Pokemon bench, get something powered up, and draw a couple cards with the Speed Lightning.
All right, so here we go. That Vikavolt is coming down the Speed Lightning energy, also coming down onto it to be able to draw into 2 more cards there. And then we're going to see that Vikavolt take that Manaphy out because of that weakness here. So another prize card for Gibson. And now it's up to Nicholas Moffitt to respond to this in a rough spot, but at least we have that Galarian Zapdos V.
It's almost the same situation we found in Game 1. Gibson took the first 2 knockouts on 1 turn, but it was on 2 1-prize Pokemon. So Nick can now respond to this with his Zapdos if he wants, using the Raihan potentially. Looks like for now we're going to go a different route, promote the Comfey for turn.
All right, so we're going to see the Flower selecting after that draw for turn. Battle VIP pass going to hit the Lost Zone, adding up to 5 cards in the Lost Zone right now. Of course, you're always looking for that 7 usually to be able to utilize Mirage Gate, unless you're item locked. So if that maintains, but we might see the knockout here on Nicholas's side.
Yeah, I think we will. I do think I saw that fighting energy in hand, and even if he didn't have it, he could grab it out of the deck here with Raihan. So
yeah, I think there's two Raihans potentially in hand too.
Yep. So playing the first one now, putting the energy on the active and searching for any 1 card, wanting to set up for a future turn most likely. Cannot play any item cards. And if we're looking through this deck, just such a high percentage of the cards available are item cards, which Nicholas just cannot play.
Oh, Lost Box players, no. All right, here we go. Looking through the hand. Looking through the deck.
Didn't quite catch what that one was that he decided to take. Regardless, yeah, I do see that fighting energy in the hand, so that will, at a minimum, be able to power up the Zapdos. Looks like Boss's Orders was being the consideration.
Oh, okay. Yep, also not having to reveal the card either off of the Raihan, so. Here we go. Oop. Here we go. On Nicholas's side, shuffling up here.
So we'll see which route he goes with. It will be the fighting energy onto the Zapdos. And Gibson's already preparing for this Vikavolt to go down. He knows what's coming.
That energy already having been manually attached onto that Comfey to be able to retreat out of it as well. But Gibson taking it easy here until Nicholas officially ends the turn as well. You want to make sure you're not going too fast.
I'm interested to see what Gibson does here, because the way he responded to this play from Nicholas in game number 1 is that he went in with the Raikou. But if we're not seeing the Raikou right now, we're just seeing the Vikavolt, which can also respond. It does need an additional energy, though, so Gibson would need to attach a Lightning to it and also play Melanie to get that extra energy into play. So the Super Zap Cannon, in combination with the Lightning Symbol ability of the Zapdos, would be able to deal 200 damage.
All right, so we did see the knockout there on Nicholas Moffitt's side, taking a 2 prize Pokemon off of the field. That Vikavolt going down here. Now we are back to Gibson here, attaching that speed energy onto the Vikavolt on bench, drawing into those cards. Air Balloon's already on that Mew and active, so already has the pivot there. So
and does have the Melanie, it looks like. Yeah, there it is.
There we go. Melanie gonna attach that water energy from the discard pile, draw into 3 more cards. Gibson is just going through this deck right now. Ultra Ball as well, discarding a Drapion and a Mew into the discard pile. And here we go. There is that Raikou V.
Yeah, this is just absolutely a dominating showing from Gibson. He is going to take 2 prizes here. He just took another prize with the Zigzagoon. It's going to be a 3 prize turn. Going to prep that Raikou or the Ditto V on the bench. What a cool tech option for this deck specifically. And Super Zap Cannon blowing up the Zapdos and leaving Nicholas with just 1 Comfy in play. Gibson down to 1 prize. Nick can finally play item cards, but when your opponent's sitting at 1 prize, it's what possible combination of items could even get you back into this?
Yeah, huge hand, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. There is a Colress there. There's an Ordinary Rod from Nicholas, but let's see if there's any way Nicholas can save this or if Gibson is going to take a 2-0 in this match. I am super excited for this, Chip.
I think the situation here is Nicholas wants to take the knockout with the Galarian Zapdos and then hope that Gibson is unable to respond. It is a little tough right now, especially if Nick does not bench more Pokemon. There is no way for Gibson to really utilize the Raikou, most likely. It would have to be the Ditto getting back a Vikavolt, and Vikavolt cannot get powered up to Super Zap Cannon in 1 single turn. You need to have an energy on it already, which we see Gibson does not have access to.
Yeah, that seems like it could potentially be the route that Nicholas decides to go here. Of course, utilizing that Ordinary Rod to shuffle those energies and Pokemon back into the deck, so giving all those options up. Quick balling that Galarian Zigzagoon, so searching through the deck for that Galarian Zapdos V. That is looking like it is going to be the route chosen here, Chip, because that might be the only chance here. If you're beefy enough to withstand and take the rest of your prize cards to hopefully take this win.
We do see the Zapdos being grabbed. It is going to be the consideration. Has not played a supporter yet, so we could see Raihan be the move. That certainly looks like is what it will be. Needing just 1 more energy now on this Zapdos thanks to Fighting Instinct.
Yep, that is huge. Raihan, such a great card. If your Pokemon was knocked out on the last turn, you're able to utilize it, attach that energy from the discard pile, and go back into your deck for anything you want. So, huge card. Not only accelerating, so Nicholas still has the attachment for turn as well. I don't think has done flower selecting either, potentially.
I don't think so, no, and is debating what to grab here off the Raihan. Looks like Boss, Mirage Gate, and Comfy are all being considered, and Water Energy being placed down. Does need 1 more energy on this Zapdos in order to attack, and a way to move the Comfy from the active. Now, if I'm Nicholas, I'm definitely trying to not bench any more Pokemon if I can avoid it. If you can avoid putting more Pokemon in play, make it as difficult as possible for Gibson to get to the KO with a Raikou. If you can prevent that, you actually have a shot to get back in this game in a spot where it seemed like Gibby was just way too far ahead. So what Nicholas's play is going to be here is try to knock out this Zapdos, or with the Zapdos, try to knock out this Vikavolt, leave as few Pokemon in play, and then next turn, bring up the Ditto V or whatever the Ditto V turns into and knock that Pokemon out to close out the game.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that seems like that is going to be the route for sure. And when you can limit, like you said, Chip, limiting your bench as much as possible so that Gibson doesn't have a response to that, that's going to be the best plays, looking like what it's going to be here from Nicholas. Here we go, Galarian Zapdos V hopping into the active position here. A scoop up net from that Comfy. Nothing is being benched back down. This is Nicholas's last hope here in this match to make things happen. Take these 4 last prize cards.
Yeah, Zapdos
and here we go. There's
or
2.
bust.
There is 2 prize cards for Nicholas Moffitt, going down to 2, and let's see if Gibson has some sort of strategy to get out of this.
The wheels are turning. He's really thinking through this spot. I think we did see, oh, he's going to bring back the Vikavolt for now. Maybe force Nicholas to have another energy, but that Training Court in play lets him just get it.
All right, energy attachment onto the Vika Volts.
Looks like a Hisuian Heavy Ball being played off screen there real quick.
Yeah, they're like, move the discard onto the field. Makes it much easier for us casters, for sure. Hisuian Heavy Ball coming down here. Ultra Ball being played to discard one Mew.
Yeah, I think the Aerodactyl V-Star's already been discarded. That's something that could theoretically have come in an attack, but it requires 3 energy as well. So
yeah,
I don't even think Gibson could have gotten to that. I'm trying to find any path for Gibson to take this KO, and I don't know that it's there. Ooh, Aerodactyl V being thinned out of the deck.
Yep, I mean, especially at this point in time, too, when Gibson is down so many resources at this point in the game.
Concealed cards drawing 2. Needs a Melanie to even get another energy on to the Vika Volt.
Yep, huge hand, though, from Gibson. We can't see any of it, but oh, it's going to be a Judge.
Okay, this is Gibson's hope. Play
Here
Judge,
we go.
limit Nicholas, and hope that Nick does not find a way to get an energy and a boss's orders. And actually, I see the training court in play, but I'm looking at Nicholas's discard pile, which is laid out pretty decently here.
True.
I don't notice any basic energy. I don't even know if there's a way for Nicholas to get an energy off the court. I think it's going to have to be off of these 4 cards, boss's orders plus an energy card.
Yeah, those Raihans have been taking them all out of the discard pile throughout this game. So if there's none left in the discard pile, that training court is pretty much useless here for Nicholas Moffitt. So Nicholas going through the discard pile, making sure he keeps track of everything Gibson has used thus far in this game. That Judge, such an interesting inclusion in this deck as well.
Okay.
And we're going to see the Mysterious Tail.
Yeah, Gibson cannot win this turn. I don't think it's possible at this point, and Nicholas did draw into an energy. So off of the top of the deck, Nicholas needs to find either Boss's Orders, Quick Ball, or Luminion. If he can find one of those pieces, he can close this game out with the Fighting Instinct being reduced by 1 energy thanks to there being 1 Pokemon V in play, and Boss's Orders would gust up that Vika Volt on the bench. Gibson can't do anything. He just has to pass. What's the draw? It is just a basic energy.
Nothing else in hand here for Nicholas Moffitt besides the energy. Oh, that is so tough here.
Yeah, this is so close, and I think Nick knows that it's really going to be tough. There's really no good option here. I think one of the other cards in hand was Escape Rope. You could play that, but there's no way that Gibson's ever sending up the Vika Volt V here. Maybe play it and just hope Gibson can't switch whatever Pokemon he promotes.
That is very true. Oh my goodness. That Judge has just thrown a wrench in Nicholas Moffitt's plan here.
And he was prepping his hand up with the Raihans, right? Keeping cards in hand, trying to make sure he had plays available. And so Gibson identified the correct time to play that one of Judge.
Yep, here we go. The energy being attached onto that Galarian Zapdos V.
I think the only play for Nicholas is to play Escape Rope and pass, but that doesn't even work because the training court is in play.
Oh, no, yeah.
You got to play Escape Rope and hope Gibson decides to send up Zapdos with 2 Retreat or something like that.
That is very true. Oh my gosh, this is definitely coming down to the wire here, Chip. We're just going to see the knockout there on that Mew. 1 more prize card down for Nicholas Moffitt, but it's back over to Gibby's side, and here we go. Here's the Melanie.
Yep, Melanie will get the water energy back. Training Court can get the lightning back. Super Zap Cannon KOing Zapdos, and Gibson Archer Tang gets to 35 match points, locking up a spot here in top 8.
Wow, that is huge. Everything was on the line here for Gibson, and he's taking the win from that.